Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. What if just 3 days could change the direction of your entire life? Not 3 years, not 3 months, just 3 focused, committed days. Day one is about clarity. Most people drift through life like a ship without a compass. They react instead of create. But the moment you define what you truly want, with absolute certainty, everything changes. When you're clear, you have power. Without clarity, you hesitate, and hesitation costs you dreams. Day two is about rewiring your mind and emotions. Your state controls your story. Think about it. When you're tired, frustrated, and stuck in fear, what kind of decisions do you make? Weak ones, but when you raise your energy, when you condition your body and emotions to feel powerful, your decisions transform. In 3 days, you can shift your beliefs from I can't to I must. Day three is about massive, decisive action. Knowledge without action is wasted potential. You don't need another plan sitting in a notebook. You need execution. One bold step creates momentum, and momentum compounds into transformation. And here's the truth. Your life doesn't change when you get someday ready. Your life changes in a moment of decision. These 3 days can become that moment, because if you don't act, nothing changes. If you act with courage, everything changes. So ask yourself, are you willing to commit just 3 days to design the rest of your life? To break the cycle of limitation, ignite your energy, and build unstoppable momentum, because transformation isn't a dream, it's a decision, and that decision can start right now. Clarity creates power. Most people wander through life without ever really knowing where they're going. They wake up, go through routines, handle responsibilities, and put out fires, but deep down there's a sense of drifting. When you lack clarity, you hesitate, you waste energy on distractions, and your decisions become reactive instead of proactive. That's why clarity is not just a concept, it's the foundation of transformation. When you know exactly what you want and why you want it, you step into a state of power where your thoughts, emotions, and actions align. Without clarity, even the strongest efforts scatter in different directions, but with clarity, every ounce of your energy is focused like a laser. Clarity begins with asking powerful questions. What do I truly want in my life? What kind of person do I want to become? What values do I refuse to compromise on? Most people don't slow down to ask these questions because they're afraid of the answers, or they've been conditioned to settle for less. But the moment you define your vision, life takes on a new sense of meaning. It's like cleaning a foggy windshield. Suddenly, you see the road ahead, and when you can see clearly, you can drive with confidence, speed, and precision. Consider the difference between someone who says, I just want to be successful, and someone who says, I will build a business that generates $1 million in revenue within the next 5 years, and I'll do it by serving people with products that improve their health and happiness. Which one has power? The second person has a clear vision, and that clarity gives them direction. When obstacles appear, and they will, the person with clarity doesn't collapse. They adjust their route, but they never lose sight of their destination. The person without clarity, however, gets stuck second, guesses themselves, and often gives up. Clarity is also about knowing your why. Goals without emotion are empty. If you say you want to get fit, but you don't tie that goal to a meaningful reason, like being able to play with your kids, extend your life, or feel confident in your own skin, you won't sustain it. Your why gives you fire. It keeps you moving when the path gets tough. And here's the truth. Challenges are guaranteed. But when your vision is clear and your why is strong, those challenges become fuel. They don't stop you. They sharpen you. Think of the people who have achieved greatness in any field: athletes, entrepreneurs, artists. Every single one of them had clarity. They knew exactly what they wanted, they envisioned it constantly, and they directed their actions toward it. They didn't dabble, they committed, and that commitment was born from clarity. Without it, talent goes wasted, opportunities slip by, and years pass without meaningful growth. With it, even ordinary people create extraordinary results. Clarity also protects you from distraction. In today's world, there are endless demands for your attention: social media, news, entertainment, the opinions of others. If you don't have a clear sense of where you're going, you'll chase every shiny object. You'll say yes to things that don't matter, and you'll wonder why you feel so busy yet so unfulfilled. But when you're clear, you say no with confidence, you filter opportunities through your vision. If it doesn't serve your mission, it doesn't get your energy. That kind of focus accelerates progress. To create clarity, you must be willing to reflect, take time to write down your goals, visualize your future in detail. Imagine waking up 5 years from now living your ideal life. What does your day look like? Who are you with? What work are you doing? What impact are you making? The clearer you can picture it, the more your mind believes it's possible. Neuroscience shows that when you vividly imagine your future, your brain begins to build pathways as if it's already real. That's how powerful clarity is. It literally reshapes your brain and behavior. But clarity is not just about the big vision, it's also about the next step. Sometimes people get overwhelmed because their vision feels too far away. They know where they want to be, but not how to get there. The key is to break clarity into layers. You need the long-term vision, yes, but you also need clarity on what to do today. What's the one action you can take right now that brings you closer to your future? Transformation happens in the present moment, not in some distant future. When your long-term clarity aligns with short-term clarity, you build unstoppable momentum. Clarity also demands honesty. You must face where you are right now without excuses. Too many people deceive themselves about their habits, finances, relationships, or health. They say, "I'm fine," when deep down they know they're not. Clarity requires courage to look at your life exactly as it is and admit the truth. Only then can you design a plan to change it. Without honesty, clarity becomes fantasy. With honesty, clarity becomes a roadmap, and clarity is not something you create once and forget. Life changes, you change, your circumstances change. That means clarity is a practice. You must revisit it, refine it, and realign yourself regularly. Just like a pilot constantly checks their coordinates to stay on course, you must check in with your vision. Ask yourself, am I still on track? Does this still inspire me? What adjustments do I need to make? That's how you stay sharp and avoid drifting back into confusion. When you commit to clarity, everything else in your life shifts. Your decisions become faster and stronger. Your confidence rises because you're no longer guessing. Your relationships improve because people respect someone who knows what they want. Your opportunities expand because the universe responds to certainty. And most importantly, you feel alive. Because you're no longer just existing, you're creating. Clarity creates power. It's the force that transforms hesitation into action, confusion into direction, and dreams into reality. Without it, you remain stuck in cycles of uncertainty. With it, you unlock the energy, focus, and determination to design the life you deserve. 3 days, 3 months, or 3 years. It doesn't matter how long the journey takes. If you start with clarity, you've already claimed the power to transform your life. Change your state, change your life. At every moment of your life, the quality of your decisions, your behaviors, and your outcomes are being shaped not just by what you know, but by the state you are in. Think about it. When you are tired, stressed, and weighed down by fear, what choices do you make? They are usually small, cautious, and reactive. But when you are energized, confident, and focused, you think bigger, act bolder, and follow through with determination. The difference isn't just in knowledge, it's in state. Your state is the emotional, mental, and physical condition you bring to each moment, and it's the single most powerful factor that determines how you show up in life. People often believe they need to wait for external circumstances to feel motivated or positive. They think, when I earn more money, I'll feel secure, or when my relationship improves, I'll feel loved, or when I succeed, I'll finally feel confident. But the truth is the opposite. You don't wait for circumstances to shift before you change your state. You change your state first, and then circumstances begin to shift. Your state is the starting point, not the result. If you want to change your life, you have to master the ability to shift your emotional and physical energy instantly, because your state creates your story, and your story shapes your destiny. Your body is the fastest way to change your state. Posture, breathing, and movement all communicate signals to your brain about how to feel. If you slump your shoulders, lower your head, and breathe shallowly, your body tells your mind to feel tired or powerless. But if you stand tall, open your chest, take deep breaths, and move with intensity, your body tells your mind to feel strong and alive. That's why athletes pump themselves up before competing, why speakers use high energy before delivering a message, and why you feel completely different after a workout compared to sitting still all day. You don't need a long ritual to change your state. Just a few seconds of intentional movement can shift everything. Your focus is the second way to control your state. Whatever you put your attention on expands in your mind. If you focus on what's missing, what's broken, or what might go wrong, you create fear, frustration, or doubt. But if you focus on what you have, what's possible, and what you can control, you create gratitude, certainty, and courage. Both realities exist simultaneously. It's just a matter of which one you choose to emphasize. Training your mind to focus on empowering meanings creates empowering states. For example, if someone criticizes you, you could focus on the insult and feel hurt, or you could focus on the opportunity to grow stronger and feel motivated. The event is the same, the focus changes the state, and the state changes the outcome. The language you use is the third tool for shaping your state. Words are not just labels, they are triggers. If you constantly tell yourself, "I'm exhausted, I'm overwhelmed, I can't handle this," your nervous system responds with stress and fatigue. But if you shift your language to, "I'm challenged, I'm stretching, I'm learning to handle more," suddenly the same situation feels different. Even subtle changes in language matter. Saying, "I'm furious," creates a far more intense state than saying, "I'm a little annoyed." By softening or upgrading your words, you can soften or upgrade your emotions. Mastering your inner dialogue is like mastering the control panel of your state. Your state also influences your beliefs and decisions. In a low-energy state, your mind will generate limiting thoughts like "it's too hard" or "I can't do this." In a peak state, you'll generate empowering beliefs like "there's always a way" or "I'll figure this out." And here's the important part. The beliefs you generate in those moments will shape your decisions, and your decisions shape your destiny. So if you consistently allow yourself to operate from a disempowering state, you'll keep making weak choices that reinforce limitation. But if you learn to shift into a resourceful state, you'll make strong choices that build momentum and success. Changing your state is not about ignoring reality or pretending challenges don't exist. It's about putting yourself in the best possible position to deal with them. Imagine facing a major problem. If you approach it from a defeated state, it looks impossible. But if you approach it from a courageous, creative state, the same problem becomes solvable. The problem doesn't change, the state does. And because your state changes, your strategy changes, and your results change. It's important to realize that state is a habit. Most people live in the same emotional states repeatedly: frustration, boredom, worry, because they've conditioned themselves into it. They don't even notice it anymore. But just as you can condition yourself into negative states, you can also condition yourself into positive ones. By practicing gratitude daily, moving your body with energy, speaking empowering words, and focusing on possibilities, you can train your nervous system to default into empowering states. Over time, this becomes who you are. Think about a time when you felt unstoppable, when you were in flow, when everything seemed possible. That was a state. Imagine if you could access that state not just by accident, but on demand. Imagine how different your relationships, your career, and your health would be if you consistently operated from a state of energy, confidence, and drive. That's the power of mastering your state. It gives you control over how you live, not just how you feel. When you commit to mastering your state, you stop being a victim of circumstances. You stop waiting for external conditions to determine your mood or your performance. Instead, you take charge from the inside out. You realize that no matter what is happening around you, you always have the power to choose how you show up. And when you consistently choose to show up in powerful states, your life begins to reflect that power back to you. Opportunities open, relationships deepen, and challenges become stepping stones. Change your state and you change your life. Because your state determines your actions create your results, and your results shape your destiny. Every breakthrough begins not with waiting, but with a decision to step into a new state right now. That choice is available in every moment, and the more you choose it, the more your life transforms. Reprogram your beliefs and you reprogram your entire life. Every action you take, every decision you make, and every result you create stems from the beliefs you hold about yourself, others, and the world around you. Beliefs are like the software running in the background of your mind. They operate silently, often without you realizing it, yet they dictate everything you experience. If the software is outdated or corrupted, the system malfunctions. If the beliefs are limiting, your potential becomes limited. But the moment you choose to upgrade and reprogram those beliefs, you unlock possibilities that were always available but previously hidden from view. A belief is nothing more than a feeling of certainty about something. It's not necessarily the truth. It's simply what you've accepted as truth. For example, two people might face the same challenge. One believes, "I can't handle this," and immediately gives up. The other believes, "I'll find a way," and keeps pushing until they succeed. The event is the same, but the beliefs filter the meaning, and the meaning drives the outcome. That's how powerful beliefs are. They shape not only what you perceive, but also how you act, and ultimately what results you achieve. Most of your core beliefs were not chosen consciously. They were formed in childhood from parents, teachers, culture, and repeated experiences. If you grew up hearing money doesn't grow on trees, you may believe wealth is scarce and hard to achieve. If you were told you're not good enough, that seed may have grown into self-doubt in adulthood. These beliefs often sit beneath the surface, quietly dictating what opportunities you accept or reject, how much risk you're willing to take, and how much happiness you allow yourself to feel. They form an invisible boundary around your life, a ceiling you don't realize is self-imposed. The good news is that beliefs can be changed. They are not permanent, they are patterns, and like any pattern, they can be rewired with awareness, repetition, and emotional intensity. The first step is to identify the beliefs that are holding you back. Pay attention to the language you use. Do you often say, "That's just the way I am," or "I'll never be able to do that"? Those phrases reveal limiting beliefs disguised as facts. Write them down, bring them to the surface. You can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. Once you identify a limiting belief, the next step is to challenge it. Ask yourself, is this belief an absolute truth? Or is it just a story I've been telling myself? Where did it come from? Do I want to keep living under it? For example, if you believe I'm terrible with money, ask, is it that I'm inherently terrible, or have I just never learned the right skills? If someone else has mastered money management, then it's possible for me too. By questioning the foundation of a belief, you weaken its grip. Most limiting beliefs collapse under the weight of honest examination. After breaking down the old belief, you must install a new empowering one. This isn't just about repeating empty affirmations. It's about creating a belief that feels real and powerful. To do this, use evidence and emotion. Collect proof that supports your new belief. If you want to believe I'm resourceful and capable, recall times in your life when you solved problems, learned new skills, or overcame obstacles. Relive those moments vividly. Feel the confidence you had. The more emotion you attach to those memories, the more your nervous system accepts the new belief. Repetition is the key to embedding new beliefs. Just as old beliefs were installed through years of repeated messages, new ones require consistent reinforcement. Speak them daily, visualize them in detail, surround yourself with people who reinforce them. Take actions, even small ones, that align with the new belief, because every action becomes evidence. If you believe I'm disciplined, prove it to yourself by completing one disciplined act each day. Over time, your brain wires the belief more deeply until it becomes your new identity. Identity is the deepest level of belief. It's one thing to say, "I try to be healthy," and another to say, "I am a healthy person." The first is a behavior, the second is an identity. When you shift beliefs at the identity level, change becomes lasting. You no longer have to force yourself into action. You act naturally because it's who you are. That's why the most powerful work you can do is not just changing surface behaviors, but reprogramming the beliefs about who you are and what you are capable of. The truth is, your life will always rise or fall to the level of your beliefs. If you believe you're destined for mediocrity, you'll unconsciously sabotage opportunities for greatness. If you believe you deserve love and abundance, you'll attract and create experiences that align with that. The outer world reflects the inner world. Change your beliefs and you change what you attract, what you notice, and what you act upon. Reprogramming beliefs also requires designing your environment. Beliefs are constantly reinforced by the people you spend time with and the information you consume. If you surround yourself with negative, doubtful people, their beliefs seep into yours. But if you immerse yourself in communities that expect growth, resilience, and achievement, those beliefs naturally begin to feel like your own. That's why environment is not just supportive of change, it is part of the change. It's important to remember that reprogramming beliefs is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. New levels of success bring new challenges, and those challenges will trigger old doubts. That's when you must go back to awareness, questioning, and reinforcement. Over time, this process becomes easier because you've trained yourself to see beliefs not as fixed truths, but as flexible tools you can shape. When you commit to reprogramming your beliefs, you reclaim control over your destiny. You stop living under old stories that never belonged to you in the first place. You realize you are not defined by your past, your upbringing, or your circumstances. You are defined by the beliefs you choose to live by today. And when those beliefs are empowering, resourceful, and expansive, they pull you toward a life that once seemed impossible. Reprogram your beliefs and you reprogram your life. Every limitation you felt was never truly about reality, it was about perception. Every breakthrough begins with the courage to say, "This belief no longer serves me and I choose a new one." The moment you make that choice and reinforce it with emotion and action, you begin to rewrite the story of your life. Massive action equals massive results. This simple truth separates those who achieve extraordinary success from those who remain stuck in cycles of wishing, planning, and hesitating. Too many people wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect conditions before they act. But perfection never arrives. The people who move forward are the ones who act decisively, even when the circumstances are uncertain, even when the path isn't fully clear. They understand that clarity often comes from action, not before it. Taking bold, consistent steps creates momentum, and momentum is the fuel that drives transformation. The human mind often tricks us into believing that thinking and preparing are the same as progress. We read another book, watch another video, make another list, but nothing changes until we move. Knowledge without action is powerless. It's like having a map but never getting in the car. The only way to reach the destination is to start driving, to take action, and to adjust along the way. The most successful people are not the ones who never make mistakes. They are the ones who act quickly, learn from feedback, and keep moving forward. Massive action means more than just working hard. It's about working with intensity, purpose, and urgency. Many people stay busy but never make progress because their actions are small, scattered, or safe. Massive action requires stepping outside of comfort zones, taking risks, and doing what most people are unwilling to do. It means making bold moves when others hesitate. It means pushing beyond average effort and committing fully, even when there's fear of failure. Fear will always be there, but action dissolves fear. Every time you move forward, even in small ways, the fear loses power and your confidence grows. One of the keys to massive action is deciding to burn the boats, removing the option of retreat. When you give yourself no escape route, your only choice is to find a way to succeed. History is filled with examples of leaders who committed fully, leaving no option but victory, and that level of commitment unlocked strength they didn't know they had. In life, half-hearted effort produces half-hearted results. Full commitment backed by relentless action creates breakthroughs. Massive action also requires persistence. Most people quit too soon. They take a few steps, encounter resistance, and retreat. But resistance is not a sign to stop, it's a test to see how badly you want it. Success is not a straight line. It's a series of trials, errors, adjustments, and growth. Each obstacle you face is an opportunity to learn and sharpen your approach. If you expect immediate perfection, you'll give up at the first challenge. But if you commit to massive, sustained action, you'll break through barriers that stop everyone else. There's a difference between dabbling and committing. Dabblers try something for a few days or weeks, and when it doesn't produce instant results, they move on. Committed individuals keep showing up. They take massive action until they succeed. That persistence compounds over time. Think of a person striking a stone. Nothing happens for the first few strikes, but with enough force, eventually the stone cracks. It wasn't just the final strike that caused the breakthrough, it was the accumulation of all the strikes before it. Massive action works the same way. The effort compounds, and eventually the breakthrough comes. Massive action is not blind action. It's about moving forward while learning and adapting. You don't just repeat the same ineffective steps. You test, measure, and refine. You stay flexible in your approach, but unshakable in your commitment to the outcome. The key is speed of implementation. When you learn something new, act on it immediately. When you get feedback, adjust quickly. The faster you cycle through action and adjustment, the faster you grow. Another important aspect of massive action is raising your standards. If you set small goals, you'll take small actions, and small actions produce small results. But when you set bold, inspiring goals, you naturally demand more of yourself. You find energy and creativity you didn't know you had. High standards force you to take massive action because the gap between where you are and where you want to be is too wide to cross with average effort. Big goals require big moves. Surrounding yourself with the right people is also crucial. If you spend time with people who take timid, minimal action, you'll unconsciously lower your effort to match theirs. But if you immerse yourself in communities where massive action is the norm, you'll be pulled upward. You'll raise your game simply by being in an environment that expects and rewards bold execution. Environment is a silent but powerful force in shaping the scale of your actions. The truth is, every dream you have will remain a dream until you back it with massive action. Visualization, planning, and positive thinking are useful, but they only set the stage. The performance happens when you step into the arena and act with full force. Your results in life are always in proportion to the action you take. Small action equals small results. Massive action equals massive results. It's not about luck or waiting. It's about moving now, with everything you've got, and refusing to stop until you succeed. When you embrace this principle, your life changes. Opportunities appear because you're in motion. Confidence grows because you prove to yourself what you're capable of. Obstacles shrink because your energy to overcome them expands. And the life you once thought was out of reach becomes possible, not because the circumstances magically changed, but because you decided to act at a level most people never do. Massive action equals massive results. It's the universal law of achievement. If you want to transform your life, stop waiting, stop hesitating, and stop dabbling. Commit fully, act boldly, persist relentlessly, and adjust quickly. When you live this way, success stops being a question of if and becomes a matter of when. Leverage momentum and you unlock one of the most powerful forces for transformation in life. Momentum is the invisible energy that multiplies your efforts and makes progress feel natural instead of forced. Think about pushing a heavy car. At first, it feels almost impossible to move. The first few pushes require enormous effort. But once the wheels begin to turn, each push becomes easier, and soon the car is rolling forward with its own energy. Life works the same way. Starting feels hard because you're fighting against inertia, but once you build momentum, the same actions that felt difficult suddenly feel effortless, and the results begin to compound at an exponential rate. Momentum begins with taking that first step, no matter how small. Most people overthink and wait until they feel perfectly ready, but waiting kills momentum. The The key is to act immediately, even if the action isn't perfect. Progress creates energy, and energy creates more progress. Once you start, you gain confidence. That confidence leads to bigger actions, and bigger actions lead to bigger results. Before you know it, you're riding a wave of momentum that carries you further than you imagined. Momentum is not just about speed, it's about consistency. Doing something once doesn't create lasting movement. But when you repeat actions day after day, even if they're small, you generate a rhythm that becomes hard to stop. Habits are momentum in disguise. For example, if you commit to exercising just 15 minutes daily, at first it feels insignificant. But as days turn into weeks, the habit grows stronger, your body changes, and your energy increases. Soon, you're doing more than 15 minutes because the momentum naturally pulls you further. That's why consistency is more powerful than intensity alone. One burst of effort is impressive, but sustained effort builds unstoppable force. The truth is, momentum can work for you or against you. Positive momentum comes from taking consistent actions aligned with your goals. Negative momentum comes from procrastination, excuses, and repeating destructive patterns. Skipping one workout leads to skipping another. Ignoring one responsibility leads to avoiding the next. Just as progress compounds, so does stagnation. The key is to recognize which direction your momentum is moving and make a conscious decision to shift it when necessary. If you catch yourself sliding, stop the pattern immediately with one decisive action that creates positive momentum again. Momentum also thrives on celebration. When you acknowledge small wins, you fuel motivation to keep going. Too often people dismiss their progress because it doesn't look big enough yet, but success is built on stacking small victories. Each time you celebrate, you reinforce your belief that you are moving forward, and that belief strengthens your momentum. Remember, momentum is emotional as much as it is physical. The excitement of progress energizes you to push harder, and that energy accelerates your results. Another way to leverage momentum is to surround yourself with others who are moving forward. Energy is contagious. When you're around people who are driven, focused, and committed, their momentum pulls you upward. Conversely, if you spend time with people stuck in negativity or indecision, their lack of momentum drags you down. That's why environment is everything. If you want unstoppable momentum, immerse yourself in spaces where progress is the norm and growth is expected. Momentum also magnifies your opportunities. When you're moving, doors open because people are drawn to energy and progress. Have you ever noticed how someone who is on a roll seems to attract success everywhere? It's not luck, it's momentum. They are active, visible, and creating results, and opportunities naturally gravitate toward that movement. On the other hand, when you're stagnant, opportunities pass you by because no one notices someone who isn't in motion. One of the biggest traps people fall into is losing momentum after an initial burst of effort. They start strong, get some results, and then slow down thinking they can relax. But momentum is fragile. The moment you stop feeding it, it begins to fade. That's why it's essential to keep raising your standards and setting new goals. Momentum needs direction, otherwise it dissipates. The best way to sustain it is to always have the next target in sight, something that keeps pulling you forward before you settle into comfort. Leverage momentum by building rituals that anchor your progress. Morning routines, daily practices, and consistent habits act like fuel for your momentum. They ensure that even on tough days, you're still moving forward. Small daily disciplines compound into massive achievements over time. The person who writes 1 page a day ends up with a book. The person who saves a little money consistently ends up with financial freedom. The person who makes one new connection daily ends up with a powerful network. None of these results come from one giant leap. They come from sustained momentum. Momentum also transforms your identity. When you repeatedly take action, you start to see yourself differently. You stop identifying as someone who tries and fails, and you begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who achieves. That identity shift is powerful because it locks momentum into your self-image. You no longer have to force yourself to act. It becomes natural, part of who you are. The greatest breakthroughs often happen not at the beginning, but after momentum has been built. Think of a rocket. Most of its fuel is burned just to escape gravity. Once it breaks through the atmosphere, it needs far less energy to keep moving at incredible speed. Your life works the same way. The hardest part is starting and pushing through the initial resistance. But once momentum takes over, growth accelerates and requires less effort than you imagined. Leverage momentum and you'll discover that success doesn't always come from monumental effort in one moment, but from building a force that carries you forward day after day. Start small, stay consistent, celebrate progress, surround yourself with energy, and never let yourself stall. Once you harness momentum, it becomes your greatest ally, pulling you toward your goals with a power far greater than motivation alone. Design your environment, and you design your destiny. Most people underestimate the power of their surroundings, believing that success or failure comes only from willpower, talent, or hard work. While those qualities matter, the truth is your environment either supports or sabotages your efforts. Every detail around you, the people, the places, the habits, the systems, even the objects in your space, shapes your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors more than you realize. You can have the strongest intentions, but if your environment constantly pulls you in the opposite direction, eventually it will overpower your will. On the other hand, when you deliberately design an environment that aligns with your goals, progress becomes natural and almost effortless. Your environment begins with the people you surround yourself with. Human beings are deeply influenced by the energy, beliefs, and behaviors of others. If you spend time with people who are negative, doubtful, or complacent, you will absorb their mindset. Even if you are motivated at first, their influence will slowly drain your energy and lower your standards. But when you surround yourself with driven, positive, and growth-oriented individuals, their energy lifts you up. Their habits inspire you, their conversations challenge you, and their expectations raise your own. You become a reflection of your environment, which is why choosing your associations is one of the most important decisions of your life. Your physical environment also plays a crucial role. Look around your home, your workspace, or any place where you spend most of your time. Does it inspire focus, clarity, and creativity, or does it create stress, distraction, and chaos? A cluttered environment creates a cluttered mind, but a space that is clean, organized, and intentional creates calm and focus. If your goal is to be productive, remove distractions and set up your space to encourage work. If your goal is to be healthier, keep nutritious foods visible and remove junk food from easy reach. Don't rely on willpower to fight temptation. Design your environment so temptation never appears in the first place. Your environment is also shaped by the routines and systems you put in place. If you rely on motivation alone, you'll be inconsistent because motivation rises and falls. But when you create systems, like scheduling your workouts, preparing meals in advance, or setting reminders for important tasks, you remove the need to decide in the moment. The environment makes the decision for you. Systems create automatic momentum. They turn good intentions into consistent action, which over time becomes identity. The environment you design today programs the habits you'll live with tomorrow. Technology is part of your environment as well. The notifications you allow, the content you consume, and the platforms you engage with either empower you or distract you. If your phone is filled with constant alerts from social media and news, your attention is being stolen. But if you curate your digital environment by following inspiring voices, consuming educational content, and limiting distractions, you turn your devices into tools of growth instead of traps of distraction. In the modern world, designing your digital environment is just as critical as designing your physical one. Designing your environment also means creating spaces that anchor specific states. For example, have a place where you work that is separate from where you relax, so your brain associates that environment with focus. Have a ritual in your environment, like lighting a candle or playing certain music, that signals to your mind it's time to create or perform. These anchors condition your nervous system to shift states quickly, giving you control over your energy and productivity. The influence of environment extends to culture as well. The standards of the groups you belong to shape your own standards. If you are in an environment where excellence is the norm, you'll naturally rise to meet it. If mediocrity is tolerated, you'll unconsciously lower your effort. That's why joining a mastermind, a community, or even a team where high performance is expected can transform your results. You don't have to push yourself as much when the environment is already pulling you upward. It's also important to remove toxic environments as much as possible. If you stay in places where you constantly feel drained, judged, or uninspired, you'll struggle to grow no matter how much effort you put in. Sometimes the biggest transformation doesn't come from adding something new, but from removing what holds you back. This might mean distancing yourself from certain relationships, changing your routines, or even leaving an environment that no longer supports your vision. Letting go creates space for environments that nourish you. Designing your environment is not about perfection. It's about intentionality. It's asking, does this space, these people, these systems support the person I want to become? If the answer is no, then it's time to change it. Every small adjustment matters. Moving your phone away from your bed to improve sleep, placing a journal on your desk to encourage reflection, arranging your calendar to prioritize growth. All of these changes compound over time. Environment is a silent force, but its impact is loud in your results. When you design your environment consciously, you no longer rely solely on discipline. Discipline becomes easier because the environment reinforces your choices. You feel supported instead of conflicted, pulled forward instead of held back. You realize that success is not just about personal strength, but about shaping the world around you to align with your vision. Design your environment and you create the conditions for transformation. Success stops being a constant uphill battle and becomes a natural outcome of the space, people, and systems you've chosen. Your environment is always influencing you, so the question is, are you letting it shape you by default, or are you shaping it by design? When you take control of it, you take control of your future.